Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Jackham here, and I want to talk to you about the final for this class, which is going to be the creation of your own unique and original comic book character origin story. More details about that as we go through the following pages. So take a look. All right, so you will find this in your Google Classroom feed. This is the final for the class. During this unit, you're going to create your own comic hero. You're going to plot out an original story using the standard story writing elements of exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Now, the example here, let's talk about Spider-Man's origin from Amazing Fantasy 15. Exposition. We meet Peter Parker, his aunt and uncle who are raising him. We find out he's a smart kid, but people tease him at school and they're mean to him. That's his life. And his life will continue that way until the inciting incident. This is the point in the story where the hero gains their power or starts down the road. Something causes them to go down the road on their heroic mission. So in Peter's case, he got bit by a radioactive spider. That's it. From there on, his story is radically different than the life it would have been. The rising action. Now, this is the longest part of any story. This is where the hero faces challenges, obstacles that they have to work through and get around in order to achieve their ultimate goal. So in Peter's case, he finds he has amazing powers. He plans to cash in by being a celebrity, makes a costume and web shooters, goes on TV. He wrestles for prize money. The fellow running the theater gyps him out of his much promised prize money. The theater is robbed. He lets the thief escape. Some other thief, as far as he knows, kills his uncle. And then Spider-Man hunts him down and battles him. All of this is the rising action. The story is getting more and more and more exciting until the climax. This is where the ultimate challenge is faced. And in this instance, he discovers that the killer was the thief from the theater. Irony. If he had only stopped that man then, his uncle would be alive. Falling action and resolution. This is usually the part where the rest of the story gets tied up, where the hero learns their lesson. Win or lose, they find themselves in a new normal. Peter realized that with great power comes great responsibility. Moral of the story. By choosing not to act, he lost someone he loved. He now needs to dedicate his life to helping people and not making fame and fortune for himself. And if you don't believe me, check out Amazing Fantasy 15 at the link on this page. If you recall from our guest speaker, Mark Waid, he says a story is basically this. Somebody wants something, something gets in their way, and win or lose, they either overcome their obstacle or don't. But either way, there's some ultimate consequence to their actions. Well, what consequence? That's for you to figure out. Reward, punishment. Think Spider-Man not stopping the thief in the theater. Ultimate consequence of his inaction, Uncle Ben dies. There is want, there is conflict, and there is resolution. Put that in, and you got a story. Your task is to write a script for 4 pages of a comic for your original hero in your original hero in your original story. So 4 pages of a comic, 4 comic book pages. Now, these are going to need to be formatted correctly, as in the examples provided, which will be from the comic book Daredevil, Volume 3, Issue 1, shared with us again by Mark Waid. We'll show it to you in a second. As a writer here, you need to think visually. You're not just putting words in the characters' mouths. You are the director of your own private movie, and you're telling the camera exactly what you want to see. In this case, the camera is your artist. He's your partner in this. And you have to describe what happens so that they can see the story the way you have it planned. Use strong descriptive and specific language so the artist sees what you see. If you're including a specific place like the Statue of Liberty or Times Square, include links to references on the internet for your artists. You want them to see, and you're going to suggest how you want them to see it. More about that when we talk about the anatomy of a comic book page. It's almost like you're directing a movie, and you can control where the camera goes. So we have lots of resources for you. Use them. And remember, as in our example, the number of the pages of the script will most likely be higher than the number of the pages of a comic. If you have a lot going on a particular page, you're going to take more than a page of script to describe what is happening. So we'll look at that when we look at the example. Eventually, you will submit this by sharing. I'll show you share. Hit share. And you get a link. So copy your link. Boom. And it'll link to anybody with an Evergreen school address. You're going to copy that link and share it on a Google Doc by the end of Tuesday, January 26th. We'll be viewing these in class on the day of our final. Now, many of you have been asking about extra credit. Here you go. For those of you with an artistic bent or know who somebody who has artistic abilities, draw or have someone draw a cover for your comic. That's worth a little bit of extra credit because you've gone into a little bit of extra writing to describe how you want your cover to look. Now, if you want to go the whole 9 yards, draw your comic. Every page based on your script. So, of course, your script has to come first and get going. And, of course, if you're having somebody else do it, get that done soon because they're going to need time to create what they create. Now, some things to remember. Every event in a story is connected by one of two words. This again from our friend Mark Wade. Therefore or however. Therefore continues the action of the story. However detours it, causes the action to change direction. If you can't connect your events with these two words, it likely doesn't belong in the story. So here's an example. My alarm went off, I hit snooze. Therefore, I was late to my appointment. However, my doctor was sick. Therefore, I was not charged a late fee. So you see how the story just continues with a different path. Also, your heroes don't need to be super. A person doing the right thing at the right time can be a hero or certainly a protagonist of a story. And many comics don't have super heroic people in them. They just have people doing the right thing. Having trouble moving the story forward? Go back a little bit to where you felt the story really worked and then take it in a new direction. Because chances are it's not your plan, it's just the path you're on isn't working out the way you want it to. So go back and pick a new path. All right, so that is the final. Now, a couple things to share. Let's see. Qualities of an original story. Little resource for you here. Make sure you build a character that's a person. So make them memorable in various ways. Here's some qualities that various superheroes have. Humor, ethics, genius, uncontrollable urges, youthfulness, unpreparedness, or perhaps they're the anti-hero. They're doing heroic things in not necessarily a heroic fashion. They say Deadpool here, think Punisher. He's definitely an anti-hero. Create some kind of tragic event. This could contribute to the superpowers or be the reason for the superhero to fight crime. Bruce Wayne had his parents killed. He became Batman. Iron Man got injured, captured by terrorists. That forced him to become to develop the Iron Man suit. Every hero has a weakness. What's your hero's weakness? Superman, kryptonite. Iron Man, arrogance. Thor, well, sympathy for Loki. Plus, Thor is a little bit of a braggart. Green Lantern, well, depending on which era, Silver Age, it's the color yellow. Golden Age, it's the substance wood. So literally, a pencil could kill Golden Age Green Lantern, and if it was a yellow pencil, it could kill Silver Age Green Lantern too. They have to have a motive for doing what they do. There is a reason that pushes them. It could be from that tragic event, but maybe it's just to gift to the humanity, such as Superman and Wonder Woman, or for a payday like the Guardians of the Galaxy, or maybe solve past crimes like Spider-Man and the Flash. So have those in mind. Build a hero. Here's a small form for you to go through. Don't worry about the lines and the overlines. You can fix those. Come up with a name. Come up with superpowers. Any weaknesses they have. Do they have a sidekick? Maybe, or allies who know their identity. How were their superpowers discovered? Were they born with them? Did they come in at puberty? Were they bit by a radioactive weasel? We don't know. But fill in that and build your character. Now, here's an example of a script page from a comic book. In fact, this is a side-by-side comparison. Now, you'll notice that there is a header at the top of the page. Daredevil, Volume 3, Issue 1. This is his second draft. He's outlining, he's letting you know this is the script, and this is the master script, page 9. And author's name, Mark Waid. Now, you'll note here, check it out. It says page 7, revised. Well, it's page 7 of the comic, page 9 of the script. Why is it this way? Well, some of the pages, for instance, page 1, which we're going to take a look at, takes 2 pages to describe. Page 7 here just takes 1. So that's as simple as it is. You'll notice the only thing centered on the page is this header at the top that says page 7 revised. Capitals, bold print, underlined. Then everything else is aligned with the left-hand margin. And again, all capitals and underline, panel 1. This is the first picture on the page. So we see Chaos as the bodyguards, slumps dead to the ground. Another portal opens in midair right next to DD, Daredevil, and the Flower Girl. And there's a caption, which are words in a rectangular box. I have the anatomy of a comic up shortly, and you'll be able to see what that is. Let's see. The caption says, "Okay, blind man, how do you stop that?" So basically, Daredevil's talking to himself. And so again, in all caps, this is what the writer is telling the artist. As his hands begin to reach out, Daredevil shoves the Flower Girl into the groom's arms. The bride gapes, frozen. Everyone else is running in abject panic. And then panel 3, and you'll notice he gives his artist a little extra information there. Big. So in other words, this particular panel, this picture is larger than the others because that's going to be the place where he wants to give a lot of punch on the page. So he says, big. Daredevil dips the bride deeply and lays a wildly passionate kiss on her. She doesn't kiss back, but neither does she resist. And then he says, that perfume drives me wild. And you'll notice it says Daredevil and then what Daredevil says. And then what the bride says is a sound effect. And you'll notice there's an equal sign on either side of the sound effect. That's just the cue to the person who is lettering to know they need to draw a sound effect as opposed to a actual word. And so somehow her sound effect is Who created that word? Mark Waid. Did it have to be that? No, just some other sound. All right. I'm not going to read through the rest of these. You can very easily, but let's take a look at what this looks like side by side. All right. So we see chaos, bodyguard falling, Daredevil with Flower Girl, and a black spot opening up a portal. The villain he's fighting here is called The Spot. Yeah, I know. Really? That's the name of the villain? Go figure. Panel 2, hands reaching out towards him. He's saying, here, you take her, and you, the one who stopped me from getting shot. Before I do this, there's something I have to tell you. And then there's a shot where the hand is reaching towards the girl. Daredevil dips the bride. He says, that perfume drives me wild, lays a big kiss on her, and she's going, and then, look, he's telling the next panel, panel 4, I'm pointing to it and you can't see me point, duh. A tight shot on Daredevil's hand as he grabs the wrist. And then now he holds on to both of the arms. He starts to extract him from the portal. There are screams, as people say, and he's saying, I've got him, go. Come out of there, you. And he's pulling. Now you'll notice this particular caption says Daredevil burst, go. If we look closely at it, this has some added energy of spiky lines around it. So he's saying one line, then he's yelling one line. It's just extra emphasis. All right. Here's another example. This is page 1 of the story. Don't worry, I'm going to give you the whole story and the whole script to look at later on. It has 3 panels on it. Now, this is also a communication to the artist. He's meeting this artist for the first time. And he says, if you have any questions about it, contact me. I'm eager to work with you. Everything's going to be great. He's saying, okay, it's late afternoon, and we're at a specific place in New York. And he's explained to it. Chances are his artist is not even in the U.S. A lot of artists are in other countries, and with a name like Paolo, the man might be in Italy. So at any rate, he is telling him a lot of information, and he also gives him links to pictures of this. And he's just described, I'd like to have an aerial shot. And he's also saying, this is an establishing shot. This is showing where we are. That's number 1. And then he puts in the various captions. Now, in each case, the captions are bits of the thoughts of Daredevil. In other words, Daredevil is narrating this part of the story. Panel 2. Now, this takes up most of the page, but look, it takes up the least part of the script. Panel 2, big. Daredevil, Battle ready, billy club in hand, and ready to pounce, his senses at full alert, crouches in the shadows on a scenic rooftop. I'll bet it's a beautiful sight. So that's how the artist interpreted it. Now, he looked at a bunch of pictures, found this angle, and said, ooh, it would really be cool if Daredevil did this. So that's what he did. Down at the bottom of the page with 2 sets of parentheses around it is the word more, meaning this page continues to the next page. We'll go on down and see what that looks like. That goes with this little teeny square inset there. Panel 3, super tight on Daredevil's eyes, squinting a bit as he concentrates. And he's basically trying to show that he's using his radar senses. Now, he's gone into a great deal of detail about that. This is how the artist visualized it. And it's a give and take. He describes something, the artist applies it in his own artistic fashion. So I'm going to give you a copy of the script. I'm going to give you a copy of the comic, and you can compare the side by side, or you can just read the comic and see what's going on there. Some of you not familiar with comics might need a little bit of information about what the various parts of a comic are. So that's why I gave you this little article called The Anatomy of a Comic. Taken forever to load. So we'll get back to that in a second. All right, let's see. All right. If you're having trouble coming up with an idea of a conflict, here's about 10 or 15 different ideas, which could be at the central core of your story. You, of course, flesh them out. You know, somebody from your past arrives and disrupts your superhero plans. Resolve this as necessary. So I'm not really, telling in the story, but I'm giving you the idea of the conflict. You're trying to get something done, but your cousin Hal, who doesn't know your secret identity, has come to town, and you're trying to be super without letting Hal know. Maybe that's the deal. Also, some extra hints and advice from somebody who's read tens of thousands of comics, namely me. Names in comics, and this is mainly from the old school. So you don't have to do this, but names in the old days tend to fall into one of 2 categories. They could either be descriptive names like Tony Stark, Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, Nick Fury. Each of their last names describe some aspect of their life or their temperament. Ben is kind of grouchy. Ben Grimm. Nick Fury is first a soldier and then a head spy of the agency known as S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's got a lot of fury and possibly anger issues. Johnny Storm has a fiery, stormy temper. Also, more than a few comic book characters have alliterative names. Why? I don't know. They play nicely on the ear. Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Lana Lang. What did Superman have with double L's? J. Jonah Jameson is Peter Parker's boss and Spider-Man's greatest foe, or at least critic. Origins. Most characters have tragic events in their past. They were either orphaned, have divorced parents, maybe dad was a supervillain, something to consider. Everybody has a problem. What's their problem? Peter Parker has a troubled home and social life. Bruce Wayne was orphaned as a child and now has, well, let's just call them anger management problems. Does their superhero life make things better or worse? Superman's always on the job, but kind of makes stable home life a little challenging. Fantastic Four, however, are who they are, and they have no secret identity, and they lean into the life fantastic. Do they have what we in the story writing biz called a magic weapon? Iron Man has super armor. Captain America has that amazing shield. Thor literally has a magic hammer. Wonder Woman has a magic lasso and an invisible jet. which I always wondered, are you visible and seen just kind of flying through the air? And why is that sitting person flying there? Because they can see into the invisible jet? I don't know this. Batman has that amazing utility belt. Be careful about powering your hero. If we overpower them, then where's their challenge? What's their threat? Make your hero work for a living. Also, give them a weakness, something that you can explore in your origin. But maybe you explore it in the origin, maybe you don't, but you at least have it in mind. Spider-Man, one of Spider-Man's weaknesses is he literally cares for other people, and frequently his villains endanger other people in order to pull him off his guard or to escape. How are you going to give your hero powers? Science accident? Are they mutants? Alien origins? It's really up to you. But what are you going to do to get us, the reader, on your character's side? What is there that's likable about them? What is there about their mission that draws us in? Think those things as you are creating. Let's go back and see about the anatomy of a comic page. There we go. All right. The first image you see here is a splash. A splash page is what we would call the title page of a book. It has literally the title, the credits, all the information you need to know about the story and who created it. If it is just a one-page part of the story later on, it's called a one-panel page. But in this case, it has a splash because it has, check it out, the title, the credits, also has a sound effect, which, by the way, you get to make up your own sound effects like or roar. That, by the way, is an example of a single panel page. You can see that there, and you will get copies of this. Let's see. Now, typical pages of a comic look like this, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individual pictures. This would be a 5-panel page. You notice all that little teeny print down there under the bottom. That's the indicia. In other words, it indicates who owns this particular publication and how often it comes out. And it's all the legal stuff saying basically you can't steal this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's see. You'll notice in a lot of these pages, there are these areas of white between the panels. These are known as the gutters. Sometimes the gutters are perfect and defined and are never broken. Sometimes panels can overlap, such as in the picture on the bottom here, whereas one picture is literally on top of another. Sometimes characters may have a punch start out and land literally in another panel. So we see the punch from the hero's point of view, and we see the punch land in the next panel on the bad guy's jaw. So you don't have to be hard and fast about the panels, but since you're just starting out, you might want to be. This is a caption. You'll notice the caption is written inside of a rectangle. That's basically it. Here's some more examples of sound effects. And this is a speech balloon, in which case a person is saying something, and there is this little pointy in here, which is oddly called a pointer, designating who is talking. See, it's called the pointer. There's also thought balloons. Sometimes characters are thinking to themselves, and so it's a more cloud-like shape and connected by a number of little thought bubbles. So it's a thought balloon connected by thought bubbles. Don't know why they started it. They just did. So here's a sample panel. Panel, picture, caption. Okay, this is also known as an establishing shot. It sets the tone for the story. Where is this story happening? Well, in the city of Townsville. It doesn't have to look that way every time, because here's one from another issue, the city of Townsville. It establishes where the story is. In our Daredevil story, it was the Cloisters. Now, just like with a camera, you can describe to your artist to do close-ups or medium shots or long shots. Now, your long shot could also be an establishing shot. Now, this is the final. You have lots of resources here. And don't forget that the very best stories that are submitted will be forwarded to Mark Waid, because he said he'd love to look over them and see how you did. And wow, what an opportunity to have a professional writer who is going to give you some feedback on your work. Awesome thing to think about. All right, if you have questions, of course, direct them towards your instructor, who will be here to support you every inch of the way between now and the final. All right, take care.